Okay, so this is lecture 3. This is the last lecture before you actually go into your first assignment for the course. And so it's got a lot of just reinforcement of things that we've kind of already talked about a little bit or alluded to. And so it's about being in sync. So making sure that you have things kind of backed up, as we've said. So I kind of, as I was creating this, I thought that I should maybe have an apology at the beginning for just being a real millennial here. So there's in sync here, a little pun, and there's going to be another thing later on in this video that I would apologize for, but actually it's for your own benefit. So hopefully you can appreciate it too. And so this is just kind of continuing along with our module 1 learning objectives. And so here it's reinforcing that idea about the importance of backing it up and kind of what can happen if you don't. And then talking about applying your own personal structure to organization. And so I've said before in previous lectures that you need to figure out something that makes sense for you and that works for you. And so we're really going to start imagining what that looks like in practice now. So your first assignment is going to have you start getting into some of those activities. So you know by now that you need to have some sort of organization system. It really doesn't matter what it is. It just needs to make sense. It needs to make sense to you for sure. It would probably be nice if you think that it could be something that would make sense to somebody coming in from the outside, for instances like where you're working with a partner on a project, or for later on when you're in the workplace and you're sharing files with colleagues constantly. If you can figure out something that's going to make sense to somebody without any kind of background information, that's great. But if you want to start out with something that just kind of makes sense in your own little brain, that's fine. And that's a good starting point. You can kind of go from there. And so with this, make sure it's something that does make sense to you. So I don't want you to choose one of the file naming examples I gave you in the last lecture if it doesn't mean something to you. Those are just ideas, but you need to kind of personalize it and make sure that it makes sense within your own brain. Because we all have our different learning preferences and just kind of things that we're used to. And you need to really account for that personal variability in there when you're deciding what you want to use for yourself. So this is kind of a visual of file paths. You can like see how the folders would break down. So if you have school as the main folder, and then you also have one for work and then personal. And then under school, you'd have all your different classes, or you could have school and then semester and then all your classes. And you can break that down however you need. So you might not actually need a folder for each week of a class. But you probably do need one for assignments, and then you could have one maybe that's for your readings, everything that you have to download. For work, that could be a different folder for each project that you work on, or it could be a folder for presentations and a folder for spreadsheets. However it makes sense to you, do that. But just like start to think about these, like the different chains of the ladder or rungs of the ladder, and how it would make sense with how you use things, how you create things, and then how your brain organizes things. So this is just one example. We've been over the different types of storage already. So we know that there's the local storage, there's cloud storage, there's thumb drive or external media. So the local, again, we've talked about what it is, the access, you need to be there physically, you need to be there in person. The security, you have ultimate control over it, but because it's just in that one thing that you're carrying around with you. And if you think about that, even like the Lost and Found has laptops in it. If you somehow manage to lose your laptop, all of that work is gone. So hopefully that doesn't happen to anybody here, but it apparently does happen to some people because there are computers in the Lost and Found. And then capacity. It's expensive to buy storage, right? So your computer might have some certain storage limit that you meet before you get to senior year or before you get to grad school. And so it can be very expensive to have to buy new hard drives to add into that. Cloud storage, it's, as we know, something that exists on somebody else's servers. And so the main issue there is the internet. You need that to connect. And so it's great when it works properly. It's amazing when it works properly. But when there's any kind of issue, there could be a Google outage, the internet on campus could be down, whatever it might be, there could be some kind of attack, right? Hackers, ransomware, any of those sorts of things could impact the ability to access them. Sometimes this cloud storage will also incur a cost. And if you become fully dependent on that cloud storage, they might keep increasing their costs at a rate that seems, out of the norm. But because you've invested in it so fully, you could become kind of stuck in that cycle. So it's something to kind of be aware of. Think about the capacity, think about the kind of space that you need for the work that you're doing, see if that's the right option for you. Then there's thumb drives. They're great. They're little, they're easy to carry, but they're little, so they're easy to lose. So you have to think about that as well. I have one usually on a keychain with me, so it's always there. A lot of times I don't even use it, but it's just kind of built into me to have one just in case all the time. So that could be something that you might want to kind of get into the habit of, so you have it there if you need it. If you don't need it, it's not that big. It's probably not going to be, if you put it in a backpack, it's not going to weigh you down. Um, but they can also be corrupted, I think, in my experience, more easily than anything else. So being aware of those kind of more physical limitations, it's important. Um, Here's my other millennial treat. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Um, yeah, so backing your information up is essential. You need to have backups to be able to prevent against any kind of loss. So, from hardware failure to human failure, cyber attacks, the backups are going to protect you always. And so, it doesn't take long to do it, and you're never going to regret having that just in case. If you never need to use it, amazing. That's the ideal situation. But you want to have it there to protect you. So reasons for backing up your data if you need it to be kind of hammered home even more: prevent from system failure risks, human error, cyber threats, any kind of physical damage. It's been almost 6 years now. The spilling of the coffee on my computer, I can still see it in my mind in slow motion. And it was miserable to redo the work that I lost from that. And then something that maybe isn't as front of mind as a lot of these things that I mentioned is having access to the previous versions. It might not seem important to you right now, but it really is. And it will probably be even more important for you when you're using all of these skills and these tools in the workplace. So you have other people that are depending on you and that you're depending on. Bigger changes that might happen after you kind of go off on a particular angle on a project, you might have to come back in and start over and go in a different direction. And so saving all these different versions is going to be really important for that. So that's one that maybe doesn't seem as important right now, but I promise you it will be important, and it's good practice just to get used to doing that. And so, just in summary of these first 3 lectures, your file names matter. You need a structure to make sense of it, to be able to track down those files, and just kind of getting into the habit of being organized from the beginning is going to make future you much happier with current you. So hopefully all of that makes sense. I've repeated many things many times now, so hopefully you understand why. And I hope that you will go listen to some In Sync and some Juvenile after this.